This video is really all about probably personal security.
We were very, very naive. We made a few errors in that site. Sorry if you're that van.
Yeah.
But the biggest error.
You tell me, is it a daft idea or not?
Welcome to GetawayGeese. We are Stu and Jane, and with Harry, our Ford custom auto camper, we share our adventures.
It follows on from the Island series where we did a long trip. It was a 9-week trip, sort of 61 days, 60 nights, and we had one incident, one night where we were disturbed late at night. We were in a remote location on a pier on our own. There was no other vans, and there was what we think was probably 3 youths. We have a video that I'll put in the description that we put out, but they rocked the van. And then through an object which actually only turned out to be an egg. But
yeah, it made us feel better, didn't it, afterwards? Because a lot of people put in the comments, it's amazing how loud an egg sounds, and it really did. We thought it was a rock, and obviously afterwards we could put it in perspective. But at the time it was petrifying, I won't lie. And
to be perfectly honest, it's not about the egg, it's not about whatever it is, it's actually about the fact that somebody's come up to the vehicle and almost invaded our space effectively, and without any thought in regard to how we might feel, which did shake us. It shook us for a few bit. We recorded that as part of an episode as we travelled, and we put that embedded into an episode. It sort of took off a bit. We had lots of views to it, and lots of comments from it. You know, a huge response to it, and it made us sort of think with some of those comments, which was really useful to us, I have to say. So thank you first of all if you watched that video, but thank you if you really commented, because in the whole, the majority of those comments were positive and constructive, and actually pointed out things we should have considered or things we should have done. We
were very, very naive, weren't we?
Yeah. So we looked at all the comments. We've looked at all the considerations, and some of those considerations we've said no to. Some of those things aren't legal in the UK, you know, and that was the other thing that came apparent is different countries, especially America. You know, you've got the ability to carry a weapon and self-defend, where you can't do that in the UK, etc. But there are other things that we've considered that we've either taken forward fully. There's other things that we've considered and only taken partially. The other things we've considered and consciously made a decision not to take it forward, because this is all about, there's no one rule here. I think it's all about, you know, your version of van life. No matter what you do, is you can't mitigate about some idiot going to throw something at the van. You know, you can't, whether that's in the daytime or not, you're not going to stop that. No. This isn't about physical security to the van. So we've already got layers of physical security, from improving the front door locks to the passenger and driver's door that we had done when we bought Harry. We've put hook locks on the van doors. Obviously steering locks, you'll see clutch locks, and then we've got other things in place that I'm not going to mention for obvious reasons that we've done. So, you know, you'll do your own thing in your van. We've done that. We're acutely aware that some of those things you can bypass maybe in seconds, minutes. I get that. Make it just a bit more difficult, maybe buying yourself a bit more time more than anything. I have to say, it all going to the van next door, not my van. You know, as daft as it seems, it's sometimes about
Sorry if you're that van.
Yeah. So what we're going to go through is the physical items we purchased, and also some of the behavioural changes we need to do, and also the habits that we need to form. So the first one was, we got feedback was, well, don't do off-grid camping, go onto sites. Now, the bottom line is, we've accepted the risk that we've taken so far with some adjustments. At the moment, we do stay on sites, but our preference is to off-grid camp. Okay, now that comes with risks. It comes with a higher risk. I'm pretty sure if you stayed on sites all the time, it's at a lower risk. There's no two ways about that. So we're accepting that risk, I would say. Yeah. That's because we prefer to off-grid park.
Yep.
The second part of that really was also that was suggested was not to park in such remote sites, or park where there's other vans. And we do sometimes park where there's other vans, depends what's there. I have to say, probably, again, this is an accepted risk. We prefer those remote
Depends
sites.
on the location.
Yeah.
One of the locations, there's quite a few vans, and one of the locals said that's not an issue, it's not a problem, so we did stop. But normally, if there was another van or another 2 vans, we wouldn't stop. We'd move on, because we don't want to put people out or locals out or...
Yeah, so if the field we're overcrowded an area, we would certainly move on.
Yeah.
So we haven't got a problem stopping nearby vans. Equally, we don't have a problem stopping on our own.
No.
And quite often those best park-ups are remote sites. So we're accepting the risk. I think we do need to think about when we see a site, is that site okay or not? So looking at the reviews on Park for Night or search for sites, they come with reviews and etc. Now, you know, the place we actually had the incident did have one comment about 2 or 3 years prior that there was one incident. I think you've got to be slightly careful with one comment because one comment doesn't mean to say there's a problem in the area. It could be a one-off issue and there may be other ulterior motives for that comment being left. If it's got a frequency of comments about it, and I have chosen not to be at places where, you know, this is a boy racer site and several people have said it, we haven't stopped there.
Yeah, we made a few errors in that site.
Yeah, I think we should have moved the day before when we noticed where there was a bit of we were uncomfortable about some signals and that.
We shouldn't have stopped 2 nights, I don't think, and definitely on one of the days in the day we were made uncomfortable by a group of lads and we should have moved on because they didn't come across us by chance at night. And it was quite comforting that we spoke to a local and it had happened to somebody they knew. So, you know, it was... we have to put it in perspective, but it does pull you up a bit.
Ken off Life's Too Short, who's an ex-copper, did a video recently about, you know, looking at the site itself, and I think we need to be a bit more acutely aware. So looking for, you know, glass in the area where broken bottles or maybe lots of rubbish and things like that, that might be signs of it being a point where people congregate and all of that. So I think we just got to become a bit more. Go through almost a checklist when we say, are we going to stop here tonight? Does it feel right? Have we got sort of escape routes if we want to? What are we going to do, etc. By far the biggest feedback we had about behaviour, and to be honest, we were naive on the night, was parking in the right direction.
Yeah, we used to park where the view was, but now we park for a quick getaway, basically.
Yeah,
we didn't do that.
I think you've got to think about driving away, and we don't. So we often park for the view. You could see that we ended up doing a 10-point turn on a pier, dark at night, which wasn't a great thing to be doing anyway. We've got to think about parking in the right direction. So you might maybe go and park for the view during the day, but I think when you go to sleep at night, maybe turn it around so you're facing the exit. Is make sure that the driver's seat and area is ready to go should you want to go, and you haven't got it piled up with blankets. Don't park in a dead-end site. We're going to accept this risk a bit here because most of the great views is going to an end of a road that often has a place where we'd want to stop. I think we're going to have to assess each place a bit more diligently. Are we happy to stay here or not? Because therefore that would rule out some of the park-ups as being some of the best park-ups for one incident in 4 years. So this is where there's this balancing risk that comes up. So that's not going to be a hard and fast rule for me.
With going into Europe, we're out of our comfort zone a bit here because we've never travelled in Europe. So all this will really kick into play when we go.
And then the final one, which was an error I made.
But it's just so easy to do, is that Stu got out the van. And of course, as people pointed out, if somebody wants you to get out the van so they can get in, they're going to show you the car driving off while some people remain. I mean,
I never even thought
such a stupid mistake that we just had never think about.
I never even thought about it. You know, I thought they'd gone, so therefore I go out and have a look. And what I should have done, the van should have been pointed in the right direction. I should have been able to get in the seat. We should have driven off at that point in time and then looked.
As it turned out, it was kids, but we actually didn't know that at the time.
Okay, so that's all the behavioural things. Some of those things we've considered and not doing for now, and some of those considered and we've taken forward and we need to be more diligent on. You're going to have to assess your own answers to those questions, I would say. So let's get on to the physical things that we've actually done. So the first one, nice and cheap, I'll put a link in the description of the one that we purchased, is, you know, somebody mentioned about, well, get yourself an audible personal alarm. That cheap, I think, I don't know what it was certainly around about 10 quid, no, certainly not a huge value, which is basically you pull the pin out and a loud sound goes off. And then it doesn't go off until you put the pin back in. Most people will probably run at first sight when there's attention being drawn to them with an audible sound. So that's a really simple suggestion.
Yeah, so we've put the personal alarm where it's easy to get to. So whether we'll remember in the heat of the moment, if anything else happens, I don't know. But
I think we will.
You know, yeah.
It's there to be used.
You can only try, can't you?
It's there to be used.
What I see as our biggest area is that we didn't even have a torch in the van. I don't know where our brain was with that one. That's just such a basic thing. Because we've got our iPhone torches, you never seem to think you're going to need one.
Yeah, we got a head torch that was somewhere buried in a cupboard
yeah,
that may have been charged or not charged, to be perfectly honest. So we had them, but we just didn't have them accessible. Yeah. One of the suggestions was to get a torch with high intensity, because shine that so they know that you can see that through the van, but also if you are going to get outside, you want some of those high intensity and pointed in somebody's face, because you can get them really that's quite focused. So I actually bought 2 torches in, because the first one I bought I thought was okay, and it was, but then there's somebody suggested an even higher intensity one. Yeah, so again, I'll put the link in. So it sort of zooms in and out if you want it, and actually it looks like a great torch, and it's a rechargeable one. Again, we've got to remember this, but it's right by the door, so we can grab hold of it should we need it. And so I guess the other thing that we that came across in the comments was having external lights, which I don't think we'd thought about up to then, had we? Really?
No, we hadn't thought about any of it.
No, we haven't. We haven't got external lights, and then we've got to think about is that first of all is that if you hear something that you're have external lights on. Now, some people say have motion sensors. We didn't want a motion sensor one because I don't want it flicking on and off in the middle of nowhere because something's gone past, that's innocent, some animal and all that, then it's on and off. And so we've just gone for, we've had fitted in the van, 2 lights either side, with easy access switches. So, again, if we play back that incident, I think we would put a light on. First of all, they knew we were in the van, but also we knew that we'd heard something that might have disturbed them. Yeah, we don't need a torch really, because you won't be getting out. No, I could wave it around there. I could peer at it through the window with it. Yeah. And also they'd be useful actually if we want to sit out at night. Okay, the final one that we're in progress. So this is work in progress. Is CCTV was mentioned many times. So I looked into this, and I didn't want to start drilling holes all over Harry, etc. I know we've done it for the lights, but I didn't want to. So I wasn't quite sure what I wanted, to be perfectly honest. And again, there's a cost involved to this. And also, you remember we don't have, we haven't got a Wi-Fi in the van, so a lot of these systems need that. We tried I bought actually a trail cam, which I'll do a separate review on. Because that was going to be the similar concept of, okay, maybe if I just had a single camera that I could put out and deploy and put back in on a magnet, would that work? And we put it overnight for the first time, thinking, oh, we're not going to get anything. We're in the middle of Mount Wales, and get up the following morning, there's a sheep came past and a fox.
Great excitement in the van.
In fact, we said that. But actually, the concept of having a camera, sort of, okay, that could work for us. But also, we were up at that place, and I put it out for a trial. In the car park.
Yeah, so Stu put the camera out, and then a car came and parked with its lights pointed directly at us. And so you start feeling a bit intimidated. Well, you weren't doing anything wrong being there because there was other vans there as well. You know, it just makes you feel really uncomfortable when the lights are shining right into your face in the cab. And then he just drove off, but you had to look at the camera and it was just some poor guy that had pulled up and was redoing his bike. He had his bike
on a roof rack, and I think he was just tightening it up and that.
And he was just trying to straighten his bike out, and you're like, God, you're a bit paranoid.
And it was a good example. Obviously, this is not alerting us. This is, you know, what we ideally want is a CCTV that's going to alert us there's something going on. But he was recording footage, you know, for after, so that's only retrospectively useful. But it just proved that it would work. So having done some research round about, I hadn't quite found what I wanted. I saw that Wizard in the Wild, around about the same time, had a more serious incident, didn't they?
They had a really horrible experience where they got 3 bricks thrown into their, well, at their van. I mean, bless them, what a horrible experience. And all the comments that we had that was left, the amount of stories that were told of really horrible things, you know, and it's just, it does put you a little bit on edge. Yeah. Well, especially for me going into Europe, but you just got to put your big girl pants on and.
Yeah, I mean, so it can happen, but I think it's rare. But I think it can happen. They'd looked at their security, and he'd come across a CCTV Argus Pro 3, which again is magnetic. And I was a bit, well, am I going to put it up there? Is it going to get nicked? But actually, probably not, because you're not going to see it. And you deploy it and you bring it back in again. And I believe it doesn't need the Wi-Fi, and this is the bit I haven't tested yet. According to the manufacturer, when I spoke to them, it doesn't need the Wi-Fi to do that. So I'll be able to connect to it using my personal hotspot, effectively, if you like, from my phone. But I don't know whether it's going to alert us or not. It will certainly record for us. So that's something that we've got and we're going to try. So we've sort of partially done that. I'm sure a lot of you who have got CCTV will have a lot better systems than this and that. But that
you can only do so much, can't you? I mean, you know.
So we've listened. I think the key thing is we would be foolish not to, wouldn't we? Really, is to do this and then do nothing. I think we've done fairly practical things. There was one other thing I was thinking, but I haven't been able to crack it yet, which was again it's an audio one. Somebody was mentioning about get a dog. That was the other one, because when we haven't got a dog, you've got allergies to
I wouldn't have a dog
in the van anyway. So we wouldn't have a dog for whatever reason, and that. But obviously the sound of a dog barking, which was mentioned, is nothing more off-putting than that. So it got me thinking. I thought, okay, how about if instead of pulling a personal alarm that's just an alarm, you could play the music, or play the sound of a dog barking, which you can record a sound on the iPhone. But it's not loud enough.
It's not very realistic.
No, what you really need is actually the personal alarm device where you pull the pin and maybe you have a dog barking, or you can put a dog barking sound on there.
I can't believe there isn't one, but
I couldn't find one. So if you've got, if you've seen one out there, let us know, because it might be. You tell me, is it a daft idea or not? I've just got this vision of me playing a dog barking inside. That sounds realistic. So that's what we've done. So I'll let you know about the Argus Pro 3. I'll put all the links that what we have done in the description. So hopefully you found that useful, and if nothing else, it will help. At least you go through and like we've done and considered the impact to a potential incident, and what would you do from a behaviour point of view, and maybe some of the simple things that you could do from a physical aspect. Thanks very much.
I'll be glad to get out of these lights.
It's hot.
Bloody roasting.
You are ready for a different kind of life.